Welcome to Business Talk, the show where we spotlight the people and the companies shaping South Africa's economic and social future. And in a country where healthcare access is often fragmented and complex, the ability to engage simply and transparently and efficiently with your medical scheme is no longer nice to have. I think it has to be an absolute necessity. Our Medshield Medical Scheme, one of South Africa's leading open medical schemes, is leaning really hard into this challenge, using technology to enhance member experience, to promote proactive wellness, and expanding its footprint to better serve members. Joining me again is Aron, Principal Officer at Medshield Medical Scheme, to unpack how the scheme is leveraging this innovation in a world that is really what should be tech first. I don't think all schemes are really meeting that requirement. But Kevin, let's just start with the big picture. In your view, why is it so important for medical schemes to embrace technology, not just for operations, but as a core part of the member experience?
Thanks, Michael. Welcome, and thanks for having me, and welcome to your listeners. It's a very good question. I think it's a multifaceted answer that I'm going to give. You mentioned operational, issues, and I think that is one of them. Medical aids are expensive. We need to try to be as efficient as possible in terms of our non-healthcare expenditure. We need to make sure that as much of each rand of contribution that a medical scheme receives is actually going to pay healthcare claims. And to that extent, where we can get operational cost efficiency through technology, it actually will benefit the members, because it effectively means lower non-healthcare costs, means more money available to spend on healthcare costs. So I think definitely technology plays a big role. We are using robotic automation. We are using various technology, omni-channel technology, etc., not just to enhance the member experience, but obviously to reduce the cost of administering a medical scheme. That would be in the best interest of the members. The second one is actually the customer impact. Members of the medical scheme through technology can now access the scheme in many different ways other than phoning in or sending an email. You can use technology to make the experience better. And as an example, what we're trying to do, we're trying to improve the functionality on our member app. We want members to use the app, and we're trying to improve the app that it can provide the information that they would normally get from someone sitting behind a call center. Obviously, the app works 24 hours a day, seven days a week. And it's efficient, and it's efficient for people as and when they choose. They don't have to come in, potentially wait a little bit on a telephone and get the answer. So there's definitely a member experience improvement that technology can give. And then there's also what I call the clinical risk. A big part of what a medical scheme now needs to do is to manage healthcare costs, to manage the claims experience, so that you try reduce contribution increases as best as you can. And technology that's being developed, a lot of artificial intelligence around clinical predictions, is out there and being used in the market. So, for example, we are using technology to try to predict which of our members could end up in hospital in 6 or 12 months' time. And then we try to avoid that by engaging with them, coaching them, seeing what their health status is, potentially recommending them to a general practitioner or specialist. There's technology that we're piloting which tries to predict which members that go into hospital could end up being readmitted for wound infection or other sources. And you try to get to those members early before they actually end up either in hospital or going to the emergency center. And then there's just general health risk assessment technology you can get now, where you have facial scans, and the facial scanning technology is able to give you about 20 different clinical indicators in terms of a person's health status. And based on that, you can engage with them. You can direct them again to their healthcare practitioner. All of this with a view to trying to prevent that catastrophe or calamity where you actually get very sick and you end up in hospital, and now it's a severe case. It costs a lot of money, but also your health is negatively impacted. So I think on the operational side, the member experience side, and also the the clinical risk management side. Technology is playing a very vital role in terms of what medical schemes are utilizing in their business at the moment.
Yeah, and it sounds like with that facial recognition, or that app that can just look at your face. It's very similar to what my partner says to me when I wake up in the morning with bags under my eyes, and she says, "You're getting close to burnout here." I can tell just by looking at you now. One of the tangible ways that Medshield has done this, and you mentioned it, is through the app. You've got a Medshield app. You've also got a WhatsApp line. I find more people are communicating via WhatsApp than email. Email is kind of asynchronous. Can you walk us through how these tools are actually improving real world customer engagement and solving for member pain points?
Yeah, so for us, it's relatively early days in terms of seeing, what the downstream value the technology is bringing, almost the return on investment, what the real benefits are. So, for example, we made changes to our app towards the end of last year, and we've seen, since we launched the new app, we've seen almost a 20% increase in utilization, which is fantastic, which shows us that there are people that want to use the app. We find the younger generation almost demand usage of digital technology as opposed to going in via email or telephone. But what we're not seeing at the moment, it's probably too early, and I think we need to see a bigger volume and shifts, is does using things like an app result in lower call volumes? And often what we find is that, people are using the app, but then they're still phone into the call center for that little bit of extra reassurance. So as we can build more functionality into the app and give our members confidence. So the type of things we're looking at for this year really are functionality improvements. So last year was the look and feel, the navigation, the design, the ease of use. This year is real functionality. So, for example, we have an objective that we would like, at least 40 to 50% of all hospital authorizations that are currently done via a call center. We think they can be done automated via the app. Your specialist tells you need to go in for a procedure. He gives you the codes. He tells you the reason. You can capture that in the app. And then, on the back end, you can build intelligence to determine whether that should just be approved or whether it actually needs to go to a nurse or a doctor to review. So, this is basic stuff, and I think it's very achievable, but this will make a major difference. No more phoning into your hospital authorization call center, waiting on the line, speaking to a nurse, having to give the reasons, give the codes. It can all be automated. That provides real value to members. And I think as they get that value, the same thing can happen with chronic medication, because normally when you're chronic and you need chronic medication, again, you need authorization. It's a manual process. It can all be automated. So as we improve the functionality, we'll see more usage. Things like most medical schemes, including Medshield, have GP and specialist networks. You can use the app to have a locator. You can tell the member exactly which are the closest specialists that are on the network. You can navigate them to the specialist. We can even start building in interfaces between our world and the specialist booking environment, where I see that members should be able to go in via the app and actually get a consultation booked via the app. No more phoning into the receptionist. All of this stuff is possible. It's being done overseas. It's just something that we have to introduce and educate both providers and our members in terms of the fact that it can be done. And I think as that rolls out, the usage will increase and more and more people will use it, and there will be more value.
Yeah, I was recently away for my soon-to-be mother-in-law's 80th birthday, and it just struck me that one of the passengers, a good friend of hers, was ordering her biologics, which is a repeat chronic medication. And she was on the phone, had to go through a series of questions. And I was, surely this is a process that you could automate and make much more efficient for the end user. But you're not just stopping at convenience. There's also a strong focus on wellness. Can you tell us more about Medshield Movement and Medshield Mind? What are these platforms and how they're helping members take control of their health?
Thanks, Michael. So really, these are what I call lifestyle diseases that we are all faced with. A lot of the chronic diseases, even mental health, a lot of it is due to stress, lifestyle, and a big part of the rehabilitation or getting well again is actually changing people's behavior, changing their mindset, changing their behavior, getting them motivated, getting them to exercise, to eat better. And when those things start to happen, and it's been proven that if you're just doing, 20 minutes of exercise every day, you actually start to see physiological improvement in your lifestyle disease. You see, as you start to exercise, your weight comes down. When your weight comes down, you start to see your cholesterol dropping. You start to actually even see diabetes type 2 reversal. We're running a proof of concept at the moment with a company where just through improvement in lifestyle, we are showing that you can go off your medication for diabetes type 2. So the whole thought around these programs, which includes the mental mind and Medshield Mind, and that is really engaging with our member that needs help and providing a platform, educational material, motivational material to get them to change their mindset, to be more positive, and then to start a journey. And that journey really starts with exercising, eating better, meditation, things that actually make you feel better. And as you start to feel better, your health starts to improve. So it almost plays on itself. And that's really what these programs are. So it's not just done in isolation. It's very much linked into our chronic disease management programs where we identify the chronics. We actually clinically risk stratify them into high risk, medium, low risk. And based on their clinical risk factors, we have different levels of intervention. Some of them we have personalized coaching. We have nurses that engage. Some it's really just using the portals. Others it's a combination, sending educational material, engagement, typically via the phone or via digital measures like an app or WhatsApp. So we do all of those sort of things, but the intention of these programs really is for people to improve their lifestyle health. And what that will do is, quite frankly, it'll increase their lifespan. And that's why it's so very important. We all suffer at the moment from stress, lifestyle disease, especially people who are not exercising, people who are putting on weight. It has a direct impact in terms of what cost medical schemes incur. And a lot of those can be reversed. And that's really the intention. Unfortunately, the Medical Schemes Act, the regulations don't allow medical schemes to actually incentivize someone to improve their health by, for example, giving them a lower contribution or a lower premium if they, for example, lose 10 kilograms or their cholesterol drops. That's just not allowed in terms of the Medical Schemes Act. So we have to do it in ways of changing their behavior because we can't incentivize them financially to do that. So these programs are really geared around coaching, education, motivation, and empowering the member to take control of their health and their health condition.
It's a pity because financial incentives can be huge in terms of driving the kind of behavior that will see better outcomes for members and for schemes at the end of the day. I think we could probably have a whole other show on where we could improve on the regulation of medical schemes. But let's not go down that rabbit hole today. Kevin, you've also been growing geographically. With the recent launch of the Cape Town regional office is quite a big move. It seems a lot is happening down in Cape Town. Why was that strategically important, and what does it mean for members in the region?
It means a lot. I think there were two big reasons. We actually moved our Durban office and we also moved our Cape Town office. I think the one is that we strategically are trying to enhance the value of our brand. We believe we have a great product. We think we've got an excellent story to tell people about what we offer. And a key component of our strategy is increased visibility. So that was one of the things we took into account. The other one is we relooked the location, we looked at access, we looked at things like transportation routes, and we just felt that, we could move into an area which is more accessible to members. We still find, it's not the majority, but we still find that there's a lot of members that like to come into the walk-in center. They like to deal with a person. They like to get personalized service. They like to just have the confidence that, they can talk to someone and someone is there to actually listen to them and then assist them. So, a strategy of ours is to maintain our regional offices. We've got a number of regional offices all over the country. And this move was really, I call it an enhancement, an upgrade. We upgraded the area, and we also upgraded the visibility, the look and feel of the offices. They really look beautiful, well branded. And, it's really a benefit that we offer to members, that if you don't want to deal with us via the telephone or via WhatsApp or via the app, as we've discussed, there is the branch. You can come into the branch. There's someone that will see you, and they'll deal with your problem right there and then.
I think, brands have realized, I think it was Investec, rolled out a robo-advisory innovation a couple of years ago. And they realized that, yes, you can have some robo-advice, but in the kind of high-touch space that they operate in as well, many of their clients still wanted to go and physically interact with an advisor or a wealth manager. But they also make use of the online channel. So you've got to offer all of these things to consumers in this kind of omni-channel world that we live in today. And it's all about innovating and looking ahead. I know innovation never stops. What are the new exciting developments or enhancements, as you say, that Medshield members can look forward to over the next 12 to 18 months?
So we're busy with a huge strategic project at the moment. I'm unfortunately not able to share it with you or our members, but very soon, I'd probably say in the next month, if we can have another session, I'll be able to share. I almost think it's a leapfrogging innovation. Really will change the dynamic, will change the competitive landscape. And we've been working on that for about 6 months. And it's, I think, going to be very exciting and very, very positive for our members. But, we're also focusing quite heavily on, for next year, we're looking at wellness and preventative again. I think that, my view as the principal officer is that you can't offer enough preventative benefits. They're really important. They call preventative for the very reason that they prevent future catastrophes. So we are looking at, enhancing our benefits. We're the open scheme with the highest solvency in the entire market, which does give us a bit of a buffer that we can actually look at enhancing our benefits. So we're definitely looking at benefit enhancements for next year. We're again looking at limiting contribution increases as much as possible. And then we're looking at a number of innovations, as I sort of alluded to earlier, around the technology side that will lower the cost of healthcare and will also reduce the non-healthcare costs. And both of those can be brought back in to benefit the members. At the end of the day, 90% of a medical scheme's costs are currently largely going towards healthcare. So anything that we can improve on the healthcare side will have a dramatic improvement and impact on contribution increases. So a lot of what we are looking at is, how can we predict events that might occur? How can we ensure that people who don't have to end up in the emergency ward don't get to the emergency ward, they get to see their specialist earlier. So we are going to be making investments in technology. And then, just trying to look at how we can position our options across the spectrum to be competitive at all levels, from the low end option up to the top end sort of executive level option. So there's a lot of stuff that we're looking at, but I would say to you that, the one strategic thing that we are focusing on the most could be a game changer. And in the next couple of weeks, it would be great to come back onto your show and talk about it, because I think it will be something that our members will be very excited about, but also the market.
I'm very keen. I cannot wait for it. Watch this space. We're definitely going to have Kevin Aron back on. We'll be putting it in your diary, Kevin, as soon as you announce us to market, because I know when you say something is big, it's generally even bigger than that. So, I mean, if you've listened to all of this, you're a scheme, and ever since you've taken over as principal officer, you've ensured that you've steered this scheme through very tricky waters, best solvency ratio in the country, innovating, thinking about technology, preventative healthcare, all of these things. If you're evaluating your options as a medical scheme member right now, and you're thinking about switching schemes, and all of that doesn't convince you, I don't know what else would, but what's your elevator pitch for why someone should consider Medshield?
Michael, really at the end of the day, we are value for money. I think what we've tried to focus on is not the bells and whistles that don't make a difference, but add to the costs of healthcare, costs of a medical scheme. We've really tried to focus on giving real value, real medical aid back to our members. And you can see that, you can see it in terms of when you benchmark our options against many of our competitors, we offer better benefits for a lower cost. It's as simple as that. Not on every option. We're trying to get there on every option, but I would probably say on 75% of our options, we are probably the most competitive medical scheme in the country. And we also, as I say, have the highest solvency, which gives a lot of financial security to people who want to join Medshield, that it's a very solvent scheme and it can weather the storms as they come along. So I think, obviously we focus heavily on, delivering the right service, giving a great member experience. Those things are tickets to the game. The real thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to give our members better benefits at a lower cost and maintain contribution increases within a level of CPI, because that's what it's really about. At the end of the day, people are struggling. We're dealing, as we've discussed many times, with an economic environment that is not growing. Affordability is a major issue. And what we want to do is we want to be able to say, we're here for you. You don't have to drop off a medical aid. You don't have to worry about going into the public healthcare sector that has its own significant challenges. We're here. We deliver great value, great benefits at an affordable rate. And I think that's a very good pitch, linked together with the fact that our financial status and our health is just so good as Medshield.
Yeah. I mean, one could actually say you, through all of this, through these tech-enabled innovations, this mind-body wellness, expanding boots on the ground, that you're putting the care back into healthcare as well. Thank you very much to Kevin Aron, Principal Officer at Medshield Medical Scheme, for joining us on Business Talk. And I think if you're looking for a scheme that's evolving with you and not just billing you, it might be time to take a closer look at what Medshield has to offer. Until next time, I'm Michael Avery, wishing you good health and to remind you to stay curious and to shop around when it comes to your medical scheme. Take care.
Thanks, Mark.